another big topic. When are you guys going to admit that you were wrong about inflation?
No easy questions today, huh?
Right now, but it wasn't just the president who got it wrong a year or so ago. I want to play for you what you said about inflation last year. Listen to this.
Is there a risk of inflation? I think there's a small risk, and I think it's manageable. I don't anticipate that inflation is going to be a problem, but it is something that we're watching very carefully.
Was it a mistake, Madam Secretary, to downplay this inflation risk? Did that contribute to the problems we're all seeing right now?
Well, look, I think I was wrong then about the path that inflation would take. As I mentioned, there have been unanticipated and large shocks to the economy that have boosted energy and food prices and supply bottlenecks that have affected our economy badly that I at the time didn't fully understand.
The Treasury Secretary says that she was wrong, so why doesn't anybody here at the White House?
Okay, so look, what the Secretary was pointing out, this is talking about yesterday when she was doing her hit, her TV hit with CNN, is that there have been shocks to the economy that have exacerbated inflationary pressures, which couldn't have been foreseen 18 months ago,
Why
including, well, I'm trying to answer your question. Hold on. I was just getting to the why not, including Russia's decision to invade Ukraine, multiple successive variants of COVID, and lockdowns in China. As she also noted during that interview, there has been historic growth and record job creation, and our goal is now to transition to steady and stable growth as inflation is brought down, as Brian Deese said yesterday to all of you when he was standing behind this podium. So the President's economic plan, as we see it, is working. Just today, we learned that the manufacturing was up in May, building on the 545,000 manufacturing jobs have been created since he took office. Further proof that companies are investing in America. We are on a path to stable growth, and we are addressing supply chain problems. Our plan to tackle inflation, lower costs, reduces the deficit, and respects the FDA's independence. It's the best way for us to achieve sustainable and durable economic growth. So that's how we're doing, the work that we're doing every day to make sure that we attack lower costs, higher costs.
Just that I understand, the Treasury Secretary says that she was wrong, but the White House was not wrong about inflation.
Here's the thing: we have achieved a. First of all, I explained to you what she was trying to say, so I just laid that out. So those are your words, not my words. I just laid out what she was trying to say and tried to explain in fullness her part in her answer. We have achieved an historic recovery through an extraordinarily unprecedented economic moment. The President has consistently noted that the primary drivers of inflation are the pandemic and Putin's invasion of Ukraine. The twists and turns of both these monumental events have affected energy prices and also food prices that we have seen these past several months. This is Putin's price hike, which the President refers to, and that is what Secretary Yellen was referring to if you read the entire transcript, and that's what I'm trying to say to you. Hopefully that lands.
Just following up on an inflation question, I understand you walked through what Secretary Yellen was talking about, but she still said that she was wrong then about the path inflation would take. President Biden made similar statements saying that inflation would be temporary. Brian Deese was here yesterday. I asked him the same question. Does anyone in the White House have regrets about how they talked about inflation, given that it has turned out to do exactly what they said it would not do?
I mean, look, I laid out from if you look at the whole transcript, what it is that Secretary Yellen was trying to lay out when she was asked that question. She was pointing out that there have been shocks in the economy that have, again, exacerbated inflationary pressures, which could not have been foreseen 18 months ago. I mean, that is just a reality that we're to working with.
And what all of his top aides said turned out not to be true and turned out not to happen. So I'm wondering if there's any sense within the White House that was a mistake to say so, given that it turned out to occur very differently.
Again, there were certain shocks to the economy that exacerbated the inflation pressures, right? So that includes Russia's decision to invade Ukraine, multiple successive variants of COVID, as I've mentioned already, and the lockdowns in China. The president has consistently noted that the primary drivers of inflation are the pandemic and Putin's invasion of Ukraine. The twists and turns, again, as I've talked about, have been monumental events. And so, as the Secretary Yellen has also noted, there has been historic growth and record economic creation, and our goal is to do the transition, which is what Brian Deese was talking about, to make sure that it is steady and stable growth as inflation is brought down. So that there are things that have occurred that has been unprecedented in this past year or two, actually 3 years, and that's what we're speaking to.
I hear you on that, but that still doesn't necessarily answer the question about whether inside the White House there is a feeling that there should be a concession like Janet Yellen made yesterday on TV, that the way that the administration talked about inflation was not best suited to describe to the American people the economic pain that they would eventually be feeling as we continue to see prices rise.
I mean, look, the president is working, has said this over and over again. We have said this. We understand what the American people are going through. We understand the high cost that they're dealing with. We understand what inflation is doing to gas and to food prices. We have taken multiple actions, which the president explains himself in his own voice in the Wall Street Journal just a day ago. And so that has been our focus as well. And we're coming out of a very strong economic period, and so now we're going into a transition. There are things, as it relates to inflation, there are things that were not predictable 18 months ago, that were not predictable from day one. So as we were speaking to them as we saw it at the time. And so that is also important to note. I mean, I know you're asking me that the question of, did we speak about it wrong, or did we, say, did we, I don't know, misspeak or not have it right at the time? I mean, this is what I'm trying to lay out, is that there are things that happened, the COVID variants, Russia's war in Ukraine, that was not predicted at the time. And so what we're trying to do, what the president is trying to do, is do everything that he can to make sure that we deal and attack and fight inflation. So that is our focus at the time.